Hey guys, welcome back to XRP Insider News. So glad you're here. You know what's got me really excited right now? I keep seeing these chart analysts, and I'm talking about the really good ones, comparing our current market to 2017 instead of 2021. And honestly, that has me absolutely buzzing. Here's why. If you were around in 2017, you know that alt season was absolutely insane. I mean, we're talking life-changing money for so many people. Don't get me wrong, 2021 was solid too, lots of opportunities there. But 2017, that was something else entirely. And get this, these same analysts are expecting something even bigger this time around, especially for Ethereum and XRP. Now here's the kicker. XRP was literally the top performer of the entire crypto space during that 2017 bull run. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped about what that could mean for us. I've got some amazing insights from several XRP chart analysts that I'm dying to share with you. Now look, I know we've been moving sideways lately. Kind of frustrating, right? We've been in this range for a couple days now. But here's the thing. We're not staying here. Trust me on this one. Just so you know where we're at, I'm recording this on Saturday, August 16th at 1:41 p.m. Central. XRP is sitting at $3.10. Bitcoin's at 117,891. And guys, all the signs that have historically led to those crazy alt seasons, they're happening right now. Like literally as we speak. Chart analysts can debate whether this looks more like 2017 or 2021 all they want, but here's what I know. The market hasn't been this primed in years. We are at that pivotal moment right now. I know we had that pullback a few days ago when the inflation data came out. Yeah, the market reacted to that. But listen, don't let that shake you or kill your vibe. That little dip, it's not going to stop what's building up here. The momentum is real and it's coming fast. All right, let me show you something that's got me glued to my screen every single day. And once you see this, you'll understand why I can barely contain my excitement. Check out this chart from Mikey Crypto. This is Bitcoin dominance. And this metric, it's absolutely crucial for what's about to happen. Here's what Mikey said, and I quote, "While Bitcoin is still in the weekly range, Bitcoin dominance is getting ready for a full plunge down. This is great for alts." Guys, this is exactly what we want to see. And I'm telling you, this trend is just getting started. It's going to pick up speed big time. Now, here's something super important to understand. When Bitcoin dominance drops, it doesn't mean Bitcoin's price is crashing. Not at all. Bitcoin is still going to keep climbing higher. In fact, if history teaches us anything, we've got one final parabolic explosion coming for Bitcoin. And pretty much every analyst worth their salt is calling for this. But here's the beautiful part. While Bitcoin does its thing and goes up, its dominance percentage is going down. And that is pure gold for us alt holders. You want to know why this matters so much? Because when Bitcoin dominance falls, altcoins absolutely go ballistic. We're talking about wealth-changing moves here, people. This is it. This is that once every 4 years moment that can literally transform your financial future. And it's happening right now, right in front of us. The setup couldn't be more perfect. All right, everyone, I just came across this incredible analysis from Santiment, and if you don't know them yet, you absolutely should. These guys are one of the top analytics firms in crypto, and their data is always spot on. So here's what caught my attention. They've been tracking something really interesting. How often people are saying words like lower, below, higher, and above when talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum prices. And what they found is absolutely fascinating. Check this out. When Bitcoin hit its all-time high, guess what happened? People got super greedy. The greed literally spiked right at the peak. Classic market behavior, right? But here's where it gets really interesting. Ethereum's crowd, they're being way more cautious. And get this, Ethereum has actually been performing better than Bitcoin over the past 3 months. Think about this for a second. Ethereum was trading around $1,400 just a few months ago. Now it's sitting pretty close to a new all-time high, and people are scared? They're fearful? This is exactly why I had to share this with you guys. The sentiment we're seeing right now, it's the complete opposite of what you typically see at market tops. When everyone's euphoric and throwing money around, that's when you should be worried. But right now, people are being cautious while prices are climbing. And here's the kicker. Santiment points out something we all know is true. Prices usually move in the opposite direction of what retail investors expect. So if people aren't getting excited about Ethereum yet, even though it's crushing it, that actually means we could have more room to run. Plus, and this is huge, Ethereum historically kicks off alt season. When ETH starts really moving, that's when the whole altcoin market typically follows. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about what this data is telling us. The fear when we should be seeing greed, the lack of FOMO when prices are near all-time highs, this is exactly the kind of setup that makes me bullish. What do you think? Are you seeing this same sentiment in your circles? Drop a comment and let me know. I came across this incredible post from chart analyst Mustache about the ETH BTC chart, and wow, this thing has absolutely bounced back. You know what this reminds me of? Remember the XRP BTC chart situation? At first glance, it looked like total disaster. I mean, if you didn't know the history behind it, you'd think it was game over. But here's the thing. A year ago, XRP was sitting at basically its lowest point ever against Bitcoin. Everyone was calling it the end times. But historically speaking, that's actually the complete opposite of what it means. When something's that low, it usually means it's massively undervalued compared to Bitcoin. Unless you genuinely believed XRP was heading to zero for some fundamental reason, and honestly, the fundamentals have never been stronger. Fast forward to Ethereum. Same exact story. Just a few months back, ETH was sitting in the absolute gutter compared to Bitcoin, and then, boom, it rockets up. Why? Because here's what I keep saying. Markets always find their bottoms. Look, whatever your personal feelings are about ETH, that's totally fine. But here's the reality check. The fundamentals didn't get worse. So thinking ETH would suddenly crash to zero, that just doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever. Now, chart analyst Mustache dropped this bombshell. This is the first time in 5.5 years that ETH BTC has reclaimed the Gaussian channel, even the midline after a weekly higher low. Looks like we're copying 2017, not 2021. These patterns are absolutely fascinating. This thing is primed to explode upward. When you compare it to what happened 2 cycles ago, the similarities are mind-blowing. Here's what's crazy though. Right now, as I'm talking to you, I know there are tons of people out there living in genuine fear, and it blows my mind because we're literally living in the same world. Yet I'm over here in full excitement mode. My sentiment is definitely in the minority right now. And you know what? I'm confident the majority has it wrong. There's only going to be this tiny window where most people and I will feel excited at the same time. But here's where it gets interesting. As their excitement builds and prices climb higher, I'm actually going to start getting nervous. The more excited everyone else gets, the more cautious I become. Why? Simple. The higher prices go, the closer we are to hitting the top. Everything is perfectly aligning for what's going to be an absolutely massive bubble. And yes, it will pop eventually, but that's exactly what I'm here for. I want to watch this bubble inflate to epic proportions so I can time my exit on the way up. Here's the kicker. The most insane price action always happens in that final stretch of the market cycle. Time-wise, it's going to be super short-lived, but man, it's going to be one wild ride. Let's dive into this fascinating post from chart analyst Galaxy. He's got the XRP USD chart pulled up, and his take is pretty interesting. He's saying, thoughtful, XRP looks like 2017, but moving at a slower pace. If you look closely on the weekly chart, it took 3 tries for us to finally go into serious price discovery. We are now at try number 2. Now, I've got to jump in here because I see things a bit differently. The green period he's highlighting right now, I wouldn't compare that to the same green time frame from 2017. But here's where I absolutely agree with him. When you look at how XRP's price action has been playing out, the similarities are pretty undeniable. And honestly, I talk about this stuff all the time on the channel because I want everyone to catch these patterns. They're incredibly important to understand. So here's how this typically unfolds. You get this massive pump first. Now, I'm not talking literally overnight, right? This could play out over several weeks, whatever it ends up being. After that big move up, you get this sideways consolidation period that lasts about half a year, sometimes a bit longer. Then boom, you get your second major pump, which I believe we've just kicked off right here. But here's where I disagree with Galaxy's comparison. What he's marked in green and calling the stretched out period from 2017, I don't think that's quite right. Look, if you're following along on screen where I'm moving my cursor, what he's actually highlighting in green comes after that first major pump. Let me break this down for you. We're talking about roughly half a year where XRP rocketed from half a penny all the way up to about 42 cents, then pulled back and consolidated around the 20-something cent range for that entire 6-month period. Then, at the very end of 2017, that's when it absolutely exploded. So here's my take. Where Ekkanabine take Montrastic pumped at the end of 2017. That's essentially where we are right now on this current chart. The similarities are definitely there. I'm not disputing that. I just wouldn't compare our current position to that much earlier green section he's marked way back there. The pattern recognition here is crucial, and understanding where we are in this cycle could be the difference between catching this move or missing it entirely. All right, guys, if you want to talk about what's happened historically, Egreg Crypto just dropped an absolutely incredible post that I have to show you. This is an XRP chart, but here's the twist. He's looking at the Relative Strength Index, or RSI. Now, let me quickly explain RSI for anyone who's new to this. It's basically a scale from 0 to 100 that tells us how overbought or oversold an asset is. And yeah, I know there are some numbers above 100 on this chart. Honestly, I don't know the technical reason for that, and Egreg isn't saying it means anything special either. I'm just mentioning it in case you're wondering. So here's how it works. 0 means extremely, extremely oversold. Think of it like the asset is getting beaten up way too much. At 100, it's overbought, basically too hot to handle. The key levels to watch, around 30 or lower means we're in oversold territory. The market's probably being unreasonable and a bounce could be coming. Hit 70 or higher, now we're in overbought territory, which means things are getting too heated and we might be approaching a peak. Now, these aren't set in stone. Different assets can have slightly different historical norms, but this is what most chart analysts use as their default framework. Here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. Looking at XRP's historical price action, you keep seeing the exact same behavior playing out cycle after cycle. And guess what? It's happening right now. This shouldn't surprise anyone. Greg breaks it down perfectly. Monthly RSI, the cycle of 3. It always comes in 3s. And here's the pattern. Number 1, major cycle pump. Number 2, cycle correction. Number 3, cycle blow off top. Think about this for a second. When you look at what actually happened to XRP's price during all this RSI action, it's mind-blowing. See that monster spike right there on your screen? That was the first massive price pump. And not surprisingly, XRP shot into overbought territory. I think that hit around 97 out of 100. Absolutely scorching hot. Then what happened? It cooled off and stayed there for about half a year. And during that whole process, people were losing their minds, saying XRP isn't doing anything. Why am I even holding this garbage? But here's what they didn't understand. The market was just cooling down from being completely overheated. Then boom, it rocketed again, went from overbought territory back down to reasonable levels, then right back up to overbought. And that was it for that cycle. Then it crashed back down. You can see this pattern playing out over years and years. Eventually it gets closer to oversold territory, and then the whole cycle repeats. Cycle 2, same exact structure, up, sideways consolidation, then up again. It's like clockwork. Greg puts it perfectly. In cycle 1 and cycle 2, we observed similar behavior, but at different altitudes. And honestly, that makes total sense, given that the SEC was literally attacking XRP and Ripple during this time. But structurally, the pattern is almost identical. You can see it clear as day. And here's the kicker. Greg says, now in the current cycle, the XRP RSI on the monthly time frame is exhibiting the same pattern. Number 1 completed, 2 finished, and number 3 currently in progress. The million-dollar question? How high will cycle 3 go? He's throwing out predictions like $1.80, $2.87, even $3.97. Now look, I'm not going to get into specific price predictions. That's just not my thing. But directionally, absolutely I think this thing is going way higher. Will it reach the same heights as the 2017 cycle? Maybe, maybe not. But the pattern recognition here is absolutely incredible. And if history rhymes the way it usually does, we could be in for one wild ride. Now look, I'm not necessarily counting on it hitting those exact same levels. There's way more competition out there now. So many more coins in the market. With all that increased competition, the opportunity for XRP to get overbought to that extreme degree, it can still happen. But we'll see what actually unfolds. Here's what I'm saying though. I think we can still get life-changing wealth even if it doesn't quite reach those crazy heights. It's the same reason I'm not expecting XRP's market dominance to exceed 30% like it did 2 cycles ago. And guess what? It doesn't have to. XRP doesn't need to hit those exact same levels for us to see life-changing gains and double-digit price action. It just doesn't have to happen. So here's my game plan. As we start getting anywhere close to those RSI overbought numbers, I'll be talking about it constantly on the channel. That's when I'm going to start saying, ooh, guys, we're starting to get kind of cooked here, you know? Because here's the thing. I'm not trying to sell at the absolute peak of the cycle. That's a fool's errand. Instead, I'll be scaling out at various points on the way up as price climbs higher. This RSI pattern will be a key signal to watch for, and I want to be out before we hit that danger zone. At least, I'm going to try. And let me be real with you, it's going to be messy, it's not going to be perfect. But that's exactly what I'm planning to do. Scale out on the way up during what will be a very short time period, and that's why it's going to get messy. Think about this. For a lot of people, maybe even myself, it's going to happen so incredibly fast. If you're trying to dollar cost average out the same way you dollar cost averaged in, you're going to have a very limited time window. Remember, you had years to buy in, but you might only have weeks to get out. That could get really messy. I'm mentally preparing for that reality right now. But in practice, we'll see how things actually unfold. You know, our exchanges are going to crash right when we need them most. They'll go offline because of too much volume and all that fun stuff. These things always happen at the worst possible time. So here we are, entering this exciting phase, but personally, I'll start selling as soon as it looks like we're getting close to that overheated territory. That's my strategy. And just because I sell there doesn't mean the price stops going up. Of course not. The RSI can keep climbing too, because you can actually stay in overbought territory for quite a long time. But here's why I'm so optimistic about the future. Behaviorally, this looks exactly like 2017. You could even argue it's similar to the last cycle too. I completely agree with Greg Crypto on what he's pointing out here. Humans are behaving and treating XRP roughly the same way they always have. And folks, that should be incredibly comforting. The only reason XRP didn't go higher last cycle was because of the SEC lawsuit. But even despite that massive headwind, you still saw those same similarities. The price spike, 6 months of sideways action, then another price spike. So I think this is fantastic news. Wherever this market goes, XRP is going right along with it. You best believe that.